let's begin. Okay, for the record, I am Chris Young, Chair of the HDC's Sign Advisory Council. Let's confirm access. Members, please respond to aye when I call your name. Mark Catone.
Aye.
Kevin Kuster.
Aye.
Ben Norman.
Here.
And staff, we have Esmeralda Martinez.
Present.
This open meeting of the HDC's SAC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. That order, posted with the agenda materials for the meeting, allows public bodies to convene remotely so long as public access to deliberations is reasonably provided. This meeting is convening via Zoom with video and audio recording and will be available on the town's YouTube channel. We will allow public comment. Materials provided to members for the meeting or provided during the meeting are, unless otherwise noted, available on the town's website. During the meeting, I'll introduce agenda topics and speakers. Please remember to mute your Zoom and audio until your name is called. Direct comments through the chair to avoid crosstalk and the taking of minutes easier. Votes will be conducted by roll call. And let's move on to the agenda. We'll call it to order at 9:03 on November 8th, 2022. Do we have a motion to adopt our agenda?
So moved.
Great. Anybody second it?
Second.
Thanks. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
And Kevin?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We have minutes from the October 25th meeting. Does anybody have any comments on those or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Ben.
Second.
Give a second. Thank you, Kevin. Mark, you in favor?
Aye.
And Ben?
Aye.
And Kevin?
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. Commissioners' comments. I will summarize. We had a good meeting with the HDC full board last week at their meeting, talking about just sort of the priorities as far as how we were reconstituted, if there's anything that needs to be done relative to town meeting. At the moment, they don't seem to be pursuing that. They just want to continue to have us constituted through the select board with the advice of the HDC as to who the members of our board should be. They don't seem to have any momentum towards drafting a new article for town meeting, and I'm not sure if it's necessary. I'll let Kevin, we'll have other commissioners comment as well. We also talked about just sort of the way that our general practices. They are generally very happy with the way that we've been running things, with a few provisos that they wanted to make sure that we always informed applicants that we are an advisory board. Applicants always have the right to take their application to the full board meeting and represent their case, representing their interests, so that if we might recommend a denial of an application, they certainly have every right to appear before the HDC that evening and represent themselves, with the full board having the final say. So they just want to make sure that we always acted with that in mind, and with the advising applicants that our say-so wasn't the final say-so. I think that was generally it. There was a lot of discussion. It lasted probably 45 minutes, and I'm boiling it down to just a few simple statements. It kind of went around and around a little bit before we got to the final point of continue conducting our business the way that we have, follow Robert's Rules of Order. To that end, we should appoint a secretary, which they requested, even though we'll still have staff taking minutes. But formally, we should have a chair, vice chair, and a secretary. So my advice will be on our next agenda to have a quote unquote election of officers, just to formalize that.
Mr. Chairman, sorry
Yes,
to interrupt.
Esmeralda.
On the agenda, it is, I did put for discussion and vote the election of officers.
Okay.
Yes, I did amend the agenda. right, discussion and vote, election of
Oh, thank
officers.
you.
That's something you can do today.
Okay, thank you. I printed out the original agenda. Thanks. So we've actually, I've theoretically skipped ahead on commissioners' comments, but I think that was appropriate considering that we'll be talking about election of officers. Does anybody else want to comment on any general commissioner comments? Kevin or Paul, you were at that meeting. Anything you want to add?
No, I think it went well, and it's pretty much to stay the course like we have been. And I guess that the bylaw was discussed briefly, and all sign applications will come before the SAC, and they will be reviewed and commented on by us in writing.
Yeah,
Yes, thanks. Thanks
that
for
was
pointing
something
out.
because I was watching it and I noted, that sentence in that letter saying that any applicant could basically say that ignore us or recuse from our review and go straight to the HDC. I thought that was a thing that we should not allow, because then everybody would, and then what are we doing here?
Correct. And that was, thanks for reminding me about that, Kevin. That was discussed, and it was in the end agreed that every applicant did need to come before, because the code specifically says that must be followed. So
Good.
I think that was well understood.
Good.
Paul, do you have any?
I don't have anything else to add, Chris, other than the fact that you did a good job in a lengthy environment.
Thanks. Like I say, yeah, it's I'm boiling it down to a few sentences, but that was a good meeting. I'm glad we had it. Everything's on record, so that was the important thing. Okay, so then let's move back to election of officers as sort of our one thing that we needed to do to really solidify the Robert's Rules of Order and following the procedures that we should have in place. Do we have, we'll need to have a chairman, a vice chairman, and a secretary. Why don't we start with
I nominate you, Chris, for chairman.
Second.
Okay, any other nominations for chairman? Okay, seeing none, I'm not sure if I'll recuse myself from this vote, I suppose. Kevin, would you like to conduct this vote?
Sure. All those in favor for Chris Young as chairman, please say aye.
Mark Catone, aye.
Paul,
Paul, aye.
Ben,
Ben, aye.
and I'm in favor as well. Take over, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you guys for your confidence. All right, so vice chair, do we have a nomination for our vice chair?
Seemed like Kevin just did a great job.
All right, Ben's nominating Kevin.
Second.
Do we have thanks, Mark. Do we have any other nominations? Okay, seeing none. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
And I'm in favor as well. So Kevin, thank you for acting as vice chair. And then we need a secretary. And Esmeralda, just to reiterate, that does not change the role of staff taking minutes, correct?
I believe so, correct.
Okay. So this is more of a, well, it's just procedurally, we need to have a secretary. Anybody want to make a nomination for our secretary? I'll nominate Ben. Would you?
Second.
Okay. Ben, do you accept that nomination?
I don't know what I have to do,
Okay.
but whatever it is.
Okay, just do it well.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so any other nominations? Seeing none. Mark, are you in favor?
Aye.
Paul
Aye.
and Kevin?
Aye.
I am as well. Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to the new items, new business. Or was anybody here for public comments? Okay, let's move on to new business. So we have 30 Main Street. This is the Union Lodge. We spoke with Lori at the last meeting about the sign and trying to just correct a height issue that is a concern. Is Lori on the line or an agent for Lori? Okay. No,
I don't believe
Has it-
so.
thanks. Was there anything new, Esmeralda, as far as?
No, I think the last I remember from Billy that this was held for a viewing on your part. You guys were gonna go and take a view on it. I don't know if you had a
Yes.
chance to. I don't think she
Uh,
was supposed to submit anything, but I'm not fully aware.
No, you're correct. So I had a chance. Did anybody else have a chance? Mark, did you
I
have
can't say
any
that.
thoughts on this? Okay. Kevin,
Yes, I went by, and I did not have a tape measure, but just based
Okay.
on sight and counting bricks and so forth, I believe that with an alternative bracket, they can use that existing sign. It just needs to be finessed and, figured out, a mounting that'll get it, consistently with the others. I really don't think that it should be allowed up on the freeze board. That is a massive board that goes across the entire building. So I believe it needs some more work on the bracket, and maybe we just need to hold this for a presentation, I guess.
okay. Paul,
Yes, I actually went down there about an hour ago and stood under the sign, and it's clearly too low. I took a picture from across the street, and one could, I think, argue pretty well that it appears to be a separate building from the main old Emporium building. Except the board goes all the way across. So I wouldn't be opposed to hanging it up on the board. On the other hand, there's two issues of that. The piece of the bracket that bolts onto the building is wider than the exposure on the board above it. So the bracket would have to be rebuilt or modified to move it up. But Kevin's comment, I think, is a good one. If you built a new bracket that's sort of aimed up in the air, you could get this thing up 6 or 8 inches. Billy wouldn't hit his head on. So I think
Okay.
either modifying to get it up or moving it up on the board is the solution.
okay. Ben, do you have any comments?
No, I'm in agreement with Kevin. I think it's just the bracket's not right. If the bracket was different and could move the sign up, you can move it up over a foot, I feel like, with a proper different style bracket, and this problem would go away. But mounting it to that freeze board, I think, is a bad idea.
Okay. And so Mark, I asked if you'd been down there, but do you have any input or comment on that?
Well, is this the
Situation.
unit to the far right, Chris,
It is.
of that building?
Yes. Yeah. Using the entrance between the two brick pillars there.
Yeah. And so this will be for the tenant space where those 2 smaller windows are. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
looking-
Esmeralda, there's another picture that is in their application from across
Got it. I was
the
just looking at
street.
that.
Let's look at that. And so the background, just to remind everybody, is that originally the application came in with it mounted on the freeze board. We requested that it be, we recommended approval with it on the brick, below the freeze board. The original application showed this type of a bracket. Here's, yeah, this is the original application. And so the bracket is not what was proposed. But I don't know that, it is approved in the location that it is installed. It's not, the bracket is not what was applied for. So I'm a little concerned in that I'm not sure even with this bracket in the location we asked for, if it would completely comply with the 7-foot requirement. So this is an application that's come in to modify an approved application.
Right.
So that's just the background of where we are today. So Mark, did you have any other?
Yeah, no,
thoughts?
I tend to agree that I think it's going to be too low as proposed on the brick. And that said, I don't love it shown mounted up on that freeze board either. And so, Chris, are you suggesting then it should be mounted to the freeze board given the height issues?
Well, it's interesting. I think we have a split of opinions. I actually agree with Paul in that I see this building. You could look at it as two different facades. If there's another picture, Esmeralda, I don't know if you could show us, that shows
Yeah,
how this doorway reads differently.
Yeah, I
And
have it
just
on my
given the
screen.
circumstances, I'm not sure that we're going to come up with an
There you go.
ideal solution.
Mhm.
I think if they had a bracket that was sort of like a lollipop and stuck into the side of it, instead of trying to hang it, you could gain quite a bit, even if you had the bracket on the bottom of the sign that held it up. Absent that, they could put a wall mounted sign by the door.
Well, so they have an approved sign installed. We sent them a notice that it was too low. So they've come in with this application. Just trying to think what our best procedure here is going to be. We can recommend, and we can send this up to the board with, I don't know, let the HDC weigh in on this, and we just sort of give them our opinions of how our various board members feel.
Do we feel
I'm not
it's,
sure.
is it true? I think the height requirement is typically more of a, not a safety thing, but clearance. Obviously, we don't want them, otherwise these would hang terribly low and be a nuisance. Do we feel it's so low that it is a nuisance? Because, and I ask because I do prefer it on the brick in terms of being mounted and keeping the frieze clean. It does sort of read as its own storefront, but not really with the frieze board. And I think putting it up on the frieze board kind of clutters it up slightly. Like, I don't love that on screen. So thoughts? I don't know. It's
Okay, well, we could certainly make a recommendation just for raise it up as high as possible with a bracket that
could gain him some height.
keeps it hung as high as possible.
Yeah.
Looking at that first picture, the door is 6 foot. I think the other thing is that this picture that we're seeing right now is out of scale. When we look at the size of this sign, not that they didn't design the sign or build it the way that they said they would, but this particular photo, I think the scale of the sign is smaller than when we look at the picture with Billy.
Yeah.
Meaning that it's a little misleading in that it looks like if you were to put this on the brick, you'd have enough height to be above that doorway, but in reality, I don't think.
And
really
Kevin is correct. They could, I would certainly be comfortable with something mounted to the brick pillar to the left of the door. But that probably doesn't capture the visual that they want up and down the sidewalk, which I guess I understand.
Right. And this is an approved sign that, you know, they've had built and installed, so.
Yeah, right.
Does anybody want to make a motion? It seems like if a bracket that helps raise this up as high as possible, more like the bracket that was approved, which mounted as high as possible in the brick could be the best, you know, maybe not completely conforming, but raise it up by 6 or 8 inches at least.
Yeah, I'll give a shot to make a motion to approve with the bracket that maximizes the clearance from sidewalk to underside of signage as per the original intent.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we'll recommend that the board approve the application with a, do we want to, well, I think that'll be clear enough, with a bracket that raises the sign as much as possible while mounted to the brick.
Correct.
Okay, that's been seconded. Any comment on that? Yeah, Kevin?
Yeah, it seems a little funny to me that we're approving something that's already been approved.
Well, there's a new application that they've resubmitted.
There is? Oh. Do we want to see?
Yes, correct.
We want to see?
They did.
That is
Do we wanna
correct. They're
see the-
doing an amendment to that original application. And it's on, this is the screen. Excuse me, it's on the screen. This is the amendment. It's pretty much, I guess, what you
They're
guys are-
applying, they're asking for it to be mounted to the fascia is their amended application.
Oh, okay. All right. Then, yeah, then that makes sense. I just wonder if you want to leave it open-ended as to any bracket they choose, or do we want to have them come back with a solution? I guess I'd be more inclined to hold for revisions and representation, but we have a motion on the floor.
Okay, well, let me take a vote on the motion, see if it passes. Kevin?
No, I'd rather hold for,
Okay.
See what's happening.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Okay, Mark
Aye.
and Ben?
Aye.
Okay, so we are recommending approval with a bracket that mounts it as high as possible on the brick. And that will go up to the board tonight. All right, Chestnut Street Signal Investment Partners on Chestnut Street. We have the site plan and the set of wall signs that we looked at a previous meeting. Is anybody on the line to represent that?
Yes. How's it going, everyone? This is Dylan Previs with Blue Flag.
Hey, Dylan.
How's it going?
Hi, Dylan. Great, thank you. So it looks like you did submit, at last meeting, we talked about having a site plan submitted so that we could just get a better visual of all the locations. And we talked about one sign in particular needing to be lowered on the corner.
Yep. I think that's actually indicated as sign number 1 for reference.
Okay, yes, right. Okay, so board members, I'll just go around. Well, first of all, this one was lowered per the request. Before, I think it was above the height of that umbrella in the photograph. So this is more consistent with the height of the other signs. I'll just go around the board. And Dylan, do you have anything that you want to add before we have board discussion?
No, I don't think so. I believe the comments that were touched on during the last meeting was in regards to the sign, which we lowered, and then putting together like a master site plan that encompassed the existing signage that was previously approved. And that's indicated in green. And then in addition with the proposed signage that is in blue on this site plan right here. So I can go around too and answer any questions regarding the existing signage. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with, which letter is what, but feel free to.
All right, let me have the board members go around the horn here. So Mark, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, Ben?
I wasn't here for this past one, so I'm gonna recuse.
Okay, Paul?
No questions, no comments.
All right, Kevin?
I have a couple questions. Just to clarify, are all of these signs basically at the same height? Would that be a fair statement?
Dylan?
Yes. Yep. I think the exception might be the blue number 6, which is a quarter board above the door.
Yeah.
But all the wayfinding signage will be at, the same height.
Okay.
And similar to the height that we adjusted the sign in the courtyard too, I would say is a good like benchmark of where that will be placed.
All right. The only other comment I have is that on the existing signs along Center Street, the one at the top, I can't quite read it on my screen. It looks like maybe it's an H.
Yes.
I don't believe that was approved to be on the side of the building like that. I believe it was approved to be by the entrance on that side. However, it was hung where it's showing, but I don't believe that that's what was approved. And there's also at least 2, there may be more, I don't know, signs that are engraved into the sidewalk. I don't know that those were ever applied for. They're not on here. I think it just kind of got dropped. So I have no issue with approving the signs that we're applying for. I do think we should review the master sign plan, however.
Okay, so that would fall under more of an enforcement issue then, I think, as far as what you're
Perhaps,
saying,
but
Kevin.
perhaps, but I think just getting the master sign plan, it's getting that
Clean it up.
accurate and
Uh,
cleaned up. So
Okay.
I'd be fine to make a motion to approve what's being applied for and then to review the master sign plan for consistencies, and it would be helpful to get a key as to what those are, I guess, at some point.
Okay, so why don't we not make a motion then that includes everything? We can make a motion on the wall signs that are being applied for, and there is a master sign plan application, correct, Esmeralda? There's a separate entry here for the site plan.
So I believe the site plan was assembled based off a request from the previous meeting of just having a reference point of the holistic. I don't think it's my understanding that a separate application was made for the master site plan, but
No, a
Okay,
separate
there sh-
application was not received. So
Okay,
we
then-
should get one. Okay.
We should get one. Why don't we?
so this is
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Well, so there is a master site plan application that would come along with and you probably have, I think you have one on file. So what we're really doing is amending it to include new signage. So we should probably have that come in as an application that we can review, and we'll compare it to the existing approval. If H, for example, is not, has been moved, then that's something that would have to be considered as a change to that master sign plan.
Mhm.
So procedurally, I don't think we should be amending approval until we because usually the site plan comes first and then the blue signs would come second. But I think that it's safe to say the blue signs are all considered approvable once we have a master sign plan that we can also approve. So why don't we can make a recommendation to hold all the blue signs for an approved master sign plan revision, but with no comments regarding changes being needed. Does that sound like a fair motion? Does somebody on the board want to?
I think we can make a motion to approve
Say
them.
that, Kevin.
I'd be willing to make a motion to approve the signs that are being applied for. And, separately, we can address the master sign plan. I think they've been
Okay.
back twice. They're ready to get going. They're all approvable.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was heading. I'm not sure if then where's the initiative to submit a master sign plan at that point? But Dylan, we'll trust that you'll submit one. I mean, I agree with you, Kevin. In theory, I think let's have a motion then, Kevin. Go ahead and make a motion regarding
I'll make a motion to approve the blue signs indicated on the site plan. Motion for approval for those signs, and separately request an updated master sign plan to be reviewed at the applicant's earliest opportunity.
Okay. Thank you. Mark?
I think Paul seconded, is that correct?
Yeah, Paul
Yes.
seconded, yes.
So yeah, in favor of that motion.
Good, thanks, Ben.
I'm recusing.
Oh, thank you, right. Kevin
Aye.
and Paul.
Aye.
Okay, I'm in favor as well. So Dylan, we'll just ask that you revise the sign plan application and just submit that so we can have it
Got it. No problem.
reviewed and on file. Thank you.
How about that? Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Dylan. All right, we are on to 21 South Water Street. And we have a projecting sign that we've seen before and a wall menu sign that is new. Kevin, you had indicated
Yeah.
you would,
Yeah, through you, I would like to request to recuse from this, please.
okay. So, thank you. Then, is anybody on the line to represent this application?
I
No,
don't
and
see anyone.
okay. I see that this has a new received date since the last time we've reviewed it, but it doesn't seem to be any different than what we reviewed last time. Is that correct? Is it just a new
Correct.
presentation?
Just new pictures, new presentation.
Okay. So I think the summary of our review at the last time we saw this was that we felt it was an inappropriate design. Size and location were appropriate, but the design didn't meet with the guidelines based on either looking at logos, fonts, colors. I think that was made clear. They've made a presentation showing that they believe there are neighboring signs, other existing signs that might sway that opinion. I'll go around the board and see if anybody has any comments. Paul?
It doesn't meet the guidelines you just outlined.
Okay, Ben?
I agree. Doesn't meet the guidelines. I also think the font specifically is not an approvable font.
Okay, Mark?
I would agree with what's been said.
Okay. I think just to give anybody who listens later a complete picture, where the font is atypical and the sign book does talk about how atypical fonts need to be reduced in size if they're part of a logo or trademark, that they need to be a maximum 15% of the size of the sign if they want to be used. I think that this is clearly larger than that. I'm not sure there's a border on this sign, just to kind of give a complete review, which is also
Do we want
something
to
that we
address color?
request. Color is
Be more muted?
subdued colors. Yeah, subdued colors are encouraged, and loud colors are rarely approved according to the sign book. And like I say, I think size and placement are appropriate. So does anybody want to make a motion for what we recommend to the HDC tonight?
Chris, I have a question first.
Yes.
Um, Along with this, apparently there was some discussion about their awning, which is bright orange.
It's on tonight's agenda for discussion by the board.
Tonight?
Yeah, as an as-built condition.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. If that's where you're headed.
Well, yeah, I just, yeah, I was curious what the decision was, so we'll find out, I guess.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody want to make a motion on this?
I'd make a
Is there any
motion to
more
hold for revision.
Second.
What?
Okay. Okay. Any comment on that? Anybody want to discuss that?
I
Seeing
do.
none. Okay, thanks, Paul.
In the application that I saw, they also wanted a temporary menu board that was bigger than the sign. Are we
Well,
dealing with
hold
that?
on. Well, that's a separate application. Just I wanted to know if there was any discussion on the
All right,
motion
okay,
to hold
I'm
for
sorry.
revisions. That's
All right.
okay. So if there's no specific discussion on that, we'll take a vote. Ben
Aye.
and Mark
Aye.
and Paul.
Aye.
Okay, I agree as well. So we will recommend that this has revisions to help comply with the guidelines. And now there is a menu box application that is a separate application we're seeing here. Esmeralda, if you could bring that up. Okay, so this is a wood lighted menu box. I assume it's going to be replacing that temporary sign that is up for location. It is the sign book says that a menu box can be a maximum of 5 square feet. The location seems to be appropriate, but this is a 3 foot by 2 foot menu box. So that would be 6 square feet. Lumens doesn't talk about how bright or what type of lighting, although the guidelines do have limitations on that. So we could, if we're requesting any revisions, we could also ask for more clarification on this, the type of lighting and the brightness. I'll go around. Mark, do you have any comments?
I don't think I have any concerns. I understand that it's slightly larger than the guidelines, but that where it's sort of in the recess under the awning to the right of the door, it seems like a perfect pocket for that. And if it's off by a few inches, I don't think that's the end of the world. And yeah, lighting should be subdued and consistent with the guidelines. The only thing, as noted in this application, I noticed there's a dimension, I think, on the sticker on the waste bin below. Is that anything we need to address?
That has come up in previous discussions. It's not approvable, so that would become,
I guess we
a
just need to
violation, I
clarify, Chris,
suppose.
that that's not part of this
so,
application in any
yeah.
way. Okay.
right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And there's been, so just to review the points that were brought up in previous discussions about other potential signs that are part of the whole picture. There was a discussion of whether the chips and salsa on the inside walls constitute signage. You can see in this picture of the awning, there's die cutouts of their logo that are hanging from the awning inside. Occasionally those have been hung across the sidewalk. So those would be considered signs according to the sign book and this trash can. I think there's been a different one. I believe there's a wooden barrel at one point, maybe that had a logo on it as well, but in any event, signage on those trash cans would be considered unapprovable,
Mhm.
or they're not being applied for it anyway. So, but looking at this menu box application, Mark, you're okay with size placement. Paul, do you have any comments?
I believe it's listed as temporary, is that correct? And do we
I don't-
know,
I don't think so. Is that, Esmeralda, how does that read?
It's a temporary sign, doesn't it?
doesn't say?
Maybe,
It
All
does
right.
say
Maybe they
temporary
were-
sign.
Because what I recall seeing, and I don't have it in front of me, was that it's temporary because they've applied for a wider or double front door, which
Oh,
won't get approved until next year, apparently.
okay,
And then what
Got
happens, what happens to this menu box when they do that?
well, I guess we can evaluate this even if it's temporary for whatever period they determine it's temporary for, in the event they get an approval for a modification to the facade. At which point, if that menu box comes down, it needs to come back to us if it's to be relocated or put somewhere else, I
Right.
guess.
All right, okay.
right, I agree with that. This is, we're approving or being asked to recommend approval for the placement that's shown in the picture. Ben?
I think the location is great. I think that the size is too large. It needs to meet our guidelines. I just measured out with my measuring tape 2x3 and it's big. So I think it's bigger than appropriate. So guidelines need to be met, it needs to meet the guidelines for size, and it needs to meet the guidelines for lighting. Although it looks, type of lighting is not applicable, it looks like, so maybe there is no lighting, which would be great, but if there is lighting, we need to know what it is and that meets the guidelines.
Right, yeah, it says NA on the application, yet in the description, it talks about LED lights, I think, in the photograph. So good point. Okay, well, I think we've given it a good discussion. Anybody want to make a motion?
I would make a motion to hold for revision.
You want
All
to,
right, based on our comments,
or Ben, do you want to, I'm okay if you want to make a motion to approve per the reduced side to comply with the guidelines.
Okay, yeah,
I just
I'll
think
amend
that-
that motion. I'll
Yeah.
motion to approve with the staff approval that the size will not exceed the 5 square foot guideline recommendation, and lighting will not exceed the guideline recommendation.
Second,
okay. Great, Paul, are you in favor of that?
Aye,
And Ben
Aye.
and Mark?
aye.
Okay, thank you, guys. I am as well. So again, these are recommendations that we're making for the board to review at tonight's meeting. And we'll see how they fare. Nantucket Land Bank, do we have anybody? I think I saw Jesse on the call earlier.
Can you see me?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Okay, so you have two public or trail signs, public information signs, as far as the way that the sign book views them. Go ahead, introduce us to the applications.
So this is a trailhead sign for the beginning of the Coast to Coast Trail, which is at the end of Hoyks Hollow Road in Sconset, and then at the end of the trail on the west end at Settlers Landing, our Settlers Landing property. The one on the east end is located in a public easement area that is owned by, or the easement is owned by the town. And the town has licensed that area to the land bank to create the parking for the Coast to Coast Trail, as well as additional parking for public beach access. So I don't know if we've located a place for this sign. I think we're open to placement. But my thought was maybe put it in the center of the, the rear fence of the parking area. I think the standard frame is what are proposing to be using. It's the frame we use at our Codfish Park playground, and it's also the frame we use in all of the trailhead signs that you have proposed. The struggle with this is that we're trying to accommodate a ton of a wide spectrum of users so there's elderly people, there's summer visitors, so that we feel like we really struggle with cutting down the information in this sign. We feel like we need to show the map, and we feel like we need to kind of include all the information that's in there, and any smaller is going to really make it not readable and not as user friendly. So that's the struggle.
Okay. Let's just take a look at the sign itself there, Esmeralda. So the size, it's 6 square feet, which public information signs are allowed to be 6 square feet according to the sign book. The one thing is that, and they're supposed to be on 2 posts as shown, but the top of the sign shouldn't exceed 48 inches according to the sign guidelines. Just to kind of bring everybody up to speed on that. And then can we see the content? Slide 5, Esmeralda.
And that's pretty much, it's very
Okay.
similar to our map. So it's like a version of the paper map. I mean, some people don't like to use phones. We do have the QR code there for, and so this just gives people a sense of where they're going. And maybe they would, I don't know. Again, just trying to accommodate a variety of users.
Okay. Well, thanks. Let me go around the board. Kevin?
I appreciate the challenge of trying to get all the information in here. And I'm generally not opposed to this kind of treatment. However, I'm wondering if we couldn't look at the version where it's more tilted down, it's more reclined in a reclined type angled position like we did at Sankaty Head, so that people are looking down at the sign, and, instead of up in their face. It might lower it a little bit and perhaps make it easier to get at. That would be my only recommendation.
Okay. All right, thanks. Ben?
I need to recuse because of conflict of interest, I guess, with the landmaker.
Okay.
But I would like to speak as a public citizen. That would be okay.
All right, let me go through the board members and then we'll open it up to public comment.
Okay, there you go.
So thanks. All right, Mark.
Yeah, I don't know that I have too many concerns. Can we go to the application itself, please? And are we looking at just one of these in that location? That's where I was.
There's 2, one at each end of the island.
Okay.
There's two different applications.
Each end. Okay. Yep. And can I see the location again then, please, for this one? Yeah, thanks for zooming.
So that's
it's
down the
down.
parking lot at the end, Matt, of
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that red dot, that looks like it's right in the driveway entrance. I don't know. Again, flexible on where that would be.
Yeah.
My thought actually is kind of more like on that interior circle somewhere, so that people, I don't know.
I don't know that I generally have a concern with these. I know Kevin's mentioned sort of lower and tilting. Though there is precedent for the vertical format, as they provide an example of here. We've got a few of those of good scale around the island now, and they seem fine. I would agree on location that these were more interior to their parking area. which I think we've asked other applicants to do in the past as well. So it's not sitting on the road. That would be preferred, certainly recommended and preferred. But I don't know that I have any other concerns at this time.
Okay, thanks. Paul?
I don't really have too many concerns. I agree with what Kevin said, though. I think the shape or the standing of the sign is probably better at an angle, but I wouldn't argue about it. I just would like to make sure that this is a long, complex trail. Is there gonna be more signs along the way, or is this it?
There are signs already along the way. There's very small, so you got to look for them. But they're like little circular, kind of medallion looking signs.
Okay, I have no other comments.
All right. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I would motion to approve, and that the location should be more interior to the start of the trailhead, tangent to the parking, and not on the road, certainly.
So,
Second.
okay, do we have a second on that? Oh, excuse me. Well, we've already made a motion. Ben, I apologize. I skipped the public comment.
Okay.
Would anybody,
I can withdraw the motion, I suppose.
would you withdraw your motion?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for withdrawing your motion. Is there anybody wanting to speak in public comment?
All I wanted to say was just, I think the Coast to Coast Trail is it's an island treasure, and personally has opened me up to vast parts of the island I never knew existed. So I'm a huge supporter of the Coast to Coast Trail.
Thanks, Ben.
Great. Thank you. I'm glad we got that on record. Mark, do you want to make any motions?
Yeah, I'll resubmit my previous motion again, please.
Okay.
Second.
Do we have a second? Okay, thank you. Kevin, are you in favor?
Yes, I am in favor. I'd also just like to add one thing when we're done here before the applicant leaves, so. But I am in
Okay.
favor of the motion.
Great, Paul
Aye.
and Mark.
Yes.
Yes, okay, and I am as well. So
Yep.
that would be for
What I
both,
wanted to
both
add
locations,
is-
Cambridge Street and Hoyts Hollow.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What I wanted to add was just, and I'm not sure whether Jesse knows about this one or not, but on Hummock Pond Road out, there was a rock sign that we recently approved at the
Yes.
corner of, and we were told at the time that the marker, the square post marker, would be removed when the rock sign was put in, so there wasn't two signs there.
Okay.
So I just was hoping we could get that cleaned up without having to.
Yeah, I
make a
didn't.
deal with it.
Thanks for bringing that to my attention. We can. So you saw it. It's still there. The post is still there.
Yeah, there's just
Okay.
so many signs on that corner that,
Yep, we can take one away.
okay, thank you.
All right, sure.
Great. All right, thank you, Jesse. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Excuse me. So I believe that enforcement, because Billy was unable to join us this morning, he asked that that discussion be tabled. Esmeralda is stepping in for him today, but enforcement would be something he'll discuss with us at the next meeting. Esmeralda, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, or is that?
Nope, that is correct. He
that
will,
accurate?
he will talk to you guys about enforcements at the next meeting,
Okay.
which is not till the 20th. Actually, the next meeting won't be till December,
What?
unless you guys want to meet the 22nd, which is the week of Thanksgiving, which we won't have any HDC meeting that week. It's up to you guys if you want to schedule. We didn't schedule any HDC meetings because people are traveling because of the holiday. So it's up to you guys if you want to meet the 22nd. If not, it won't be till December.
I'm wondering what about next week just for enforcement?
Oh, you could do that too. It's up to you guys. We know Mark will be there.
Yeah, let's not surprise Billy with that if he wasn't planning on it for next week. But I guess we'll just give him a few weeks to prepare a great presentation for us.
Okay.
Yeah, I know,
Okay,
I'm
thanks.
traveling
And
on
then,
that. That's right.
okay, so we'll meet on that, discuss it in December. Moving on to other business, we discussed the 11-1 HDC meeting already. The real estate signs what was the discussion on that?
Billy
Was that
had,
gonna be something Billy was gonna help us with as well?
yes, Billy, I think had sent you guys a clip of a recording that you had discussed. I think it's right before COVID hit or right before the shutdown.
COVID, correct?
Yeah, that was something that you guys were starting to discuss about all the real estate signs on the windows. But obviously it never got taken care of. So that's something he will address as well. So I don't know if you want to backtrack to your emails. I know he sent that a few weeks ago.
I found
So-
it kind of interesting to review again, that, town council's opinion is pretty clear that our language is, more than adequate for a number of these types of things. So that was kind of a nice refresh.
Excellent. Well, let's, for those that need to review it, let's go back through our emails in the next 3 weeks. And Billy, you can not only discuss enforcement, we'll have a good real estate sign discussion. So I'll ask Esmeralda if that's back on the agenda
Okay, certainly.
as well.
Okay, so the next
Okay,
sign meeting will be till December 6th.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kevin, Ben. And Paul
Aye.
and Ben
All right,
and Kevin.
aye,
Thank you, guys.
thanks,
thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks,
See you at
everyone.
Bye,
Stroll.
everybody.
See you in December.